society, some people like to say that because you haven't been in my situation before, or you haven't walked in my shoes, you're not allowed to have empathy. You're not allowed to have empathy. What do you say about that?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. In our culture today, we're taught that, you haven't been in my shoes, so you can't have an opinion about anything unless you've walked in my shoes. Well, so you can't have a brain, you can't have an opinion, you can't have a thought. Basically, it's a clever way of just shutting down the conversation. I don't want to hear the truth, so I'm going to just tell you that you just can't relate to me, or you don't care about me if you don't agree with me. You must agree with me. I demand that you agree with me or you hate me. Which is very clever, very manipulative. But just because I may not be able to relate to your exact story doesn't mean I do not care, nor does it mean that I cannot say this is true or not true. Does that make sense?
Did you ever meet the nurse that saved your life? And do you know if she stayed in the abortion industry after that?
Have I ever met the nurse that saved my life, and do I know if she stayed in the abortion industry after that? No, I have not met her. I do not know, but if I did meet her, a huge thank you and a huge hug would be in order. So grateful. And I live to the fullest. Absolutely. I'm so happy to be alive. Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you when you found out that you survived an abortion?
I was 12 years old on Christmas Day, because my life is so weird. Yeah, Merry Christmas to me, right? I found out I survived this abortion on that day, and my adopted mother was in the kitchen making Christmas dinner or whatever, and I was always asking her, why do I have this disability? Why do I have cerebral palsy? And she was always saying, because you were a premature baby, or because you had a traumatic birth. And both of those answers were true, but on this day, she said, do you really want to know? And I mean, I know this will sound crazy, but it was just in my mind, and I believe that God tells us things sometimes, right? Like to prepare us, especially if they're huge. And I just looked at her, and this had never been in my mind ever before. But I looked at her and I said, I was aborted, right? I just knew. And she just looked at me shocked, absolutely shocked. And she said, yes. And I think I had been through so much by that point in my little 12-year-old life that I don't think I understood the magnitude of it. But I think that was also a way of God protecting me. And that's how I found out. But it's very interesting to watch people just dismiss the cost of this. Dismiss the fact that there has been a consequence for someone else's choice in my life, and I wouldn't. I find cerebral palsy quite interesting, actually. I really do. Except it's terrible in your dating life. Other than that, it's really fascinating to me. But to have so many just not care and really not care. I mean, it has been interesting to watch. Yeah.
How do you find that people outside, I guess, the U.S., in other cultures, have you ever been able to figure out how people respond to your story in other cultures? Do they respond differently, or?
It's been interesting. How do people in other cultures respond to me? Well, I went to Ireland last year, just before they legalized it, and was preaching in the streets and had vile things sent to me, and I'm like, well, okay, I'm still going to tell the truth. And then I ended up in Brazil speaking in the in the Congress, where I was met by Satanists and feminists and all kinds of people screaming and yelling and practicing voodoo while I was speaking, calling on demons while I was speaking. So that was interesting. And so I began to sing, because they were just shouting about demons, and I thought, well, I know how to sing. So I sang. And that shut them up for 2 minutes, and I was able to get the truth out. Then some lady came rushing up to me, and not in Portuguese, but in English. She went, "We have this right! We have this right!" So that was interesting. There are some people that wish I had died. Because I represent what they want to forget. But that's okay. I don't die easy.
Gianna, having gone around the world and I'm assuming spoken to many post-abortive women, one of the discussions that I get into that I have a difficult time responding to, I don't really know how to respond. If somebody says to me, a woman says that she's post-abortive and that she doesn't regret her abortion, have you come across anybody? And do you think that it is possible that people are truly, they don't regret their abortion, or that they're just repressing that?
Oh, please. We all know the truth. No, I'm not saying, oh, please, to your question, but just the mindset of, I don't regret it. I have never met a woman in 28 years who can look at me and say she does not regret that abortion. If she does say that, it's usually, I can't look at the fact that I had an abortion. So I must say I don't regret it, because I can't even think about what that is, because I can't deal. Because I just cannot deal. So I'm just going to deny medical facts. I'm going to deny everything, and I'm going to shout about how I don't regret this, because I cannot handle it. But what has been beautiful is to be able to lead those women into post-abortive counseling and see them be able to forgive themselves and be free. I just will never forget, I was in Rome, and oh my gosh, I'll never forget this as long as I live. Because this woman came up to me and she just held me and she starts weeping in my arms, and I thought, okay, this woman has had an abortion. And then she did something I have never seen happen in all of my life. She sobs and sobs and then whips out the ultrasound picture of a baby. And she said, "This is the baby that I aborted 7 years ago." And she could not deal. And I just held her and held her and held. So there's so much pain. And some of the most angry women I have ever met are either dealing with abortions or defending their sisters' abortions, or really, really angry with their dads, really, really, really angry with their fathers. And there's a lot of issues there, and so we deal with it all. There's just a lot going on, and now that you have young girls who are, both parents are basically not around anymore. And so I feel like there's a lot of orphaned people, just so sad and really wanting connection. And I'm not yet a mother, but I have a mother's heart, and I sometimes just hug people around the world. They will just, I mean, this just happened to me. I just returned in March from Italy, and my sweet new friend, I just remember we had gotten back from having a cappuccino, and we were both limping along. It's really funny. Both limping together on those streets. And she just held me and hugged me. And I just thought people sometimes just need that, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Just some kindness.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you knew, let's just say me, if I knew somebody, a woman that wanted to have an abortion, how could I talk to her and tell her that life inside of her wants to live?
If you knew someone who wanted to have an abortion,
How do you approach that?
really sweetly, really, really sweetly, how would you approach her? I would listen to her first. I would not spout off a bunch of stuff. I would actually listen, because you'll find her point of crisis. Is it you have 4 kids already? Is it did the guy just leave? Are you homeless? Are you just, what's your story? And then I would set about meeting those needs. I mean, I've even said that if there's a woman who's pregnant and she's freaking out, I'll take her to the pregnancy center. There's a crisis pregnancy center everywhere, willing to help, by the way. All services are free and confidential. Pregnancy Resource Center, Google that if you need to. And I've said, you know, I'll take you in. I'll take your baby, because you always hear many on the left say, well, you just care about the woman, you don't care about the, no, give me them all. Just give them all. I mean, I'm full of love, and I know lots of barren women who are waiting for children too. But find out what her story is, and then meet those needs, and then talk about, well, hey, by the way, did you know that your baby has a heartbeat right now? Did you know that your baby has a destiny? Do you know that this is not the end of your life, the beginning of it? Do you know that, just beautiful things, hope, invading that moment of crisis.
Yeah, me and my wife watched Unplanned, and it was an eye-opener. I already knew a lot of things, but
He's saying it's not Unplanned for those of you that didn't hear the movie.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, those things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just at an event with Abby Johnson just the other day, the woman that left Planned Parenthood that the movie is based on, and it was so hard when she said that when she was watching the ultrasound machine of this perfectly formed 13-week baby, and she saw when it was about to be taken out, and she saw the baby flinch. And I just, oh my gosh, yeah. I'm sorry, before you finished, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah.
So the biggest problem that I find is apathy.
What?
Apathy.
Apathy, yes. The biggest problem you find is apathy. Apathy where?
Towards this issue.
Towards the issue. Oh, people are scared to death. I mean, here we are talking about infanticide, and people are saying, it's not really infanticide. That's not really what it's about. It's not about that. It's really not about that. It's really about a woman's... No, we're actually talking about infanticide. That's what we're talking about. A baby breathing on the table. Do we want to strangle it or not? That's what we're talking about. But we're not talking about things as they are. We're distorting language. We're manipulating people. We're not just telling people what the truth is because we don't want to hear it because we want our own way. And so we have a spiritual battle. People don't want to talk about God, but actually, you can't just sort of reason people out of murdering children. Like, there's a problem. We're talking about infanticide, and people are saying that's not really what that is. How do you talk to a person where you're saying, okay, they're saying, we want to keep the baby comfortable while we decide if we want to kill it or not. That's not murder. Well, what is it then? So I think it's a huge problem in the culture. Apathy within the churches. I mean, the pastors are more terrified, so many of them, of what people think, and they wonder why we are in the shape we're in. Yeah.
Recently, the governor of Virginia,
The governor of Virginia.
right, all the things that he did, talking about.
Uh-huh.
And Ben Sass, who's the congressman,
Yep.
afterwards he came out and he gave it to him.
Yep.
And I thought, well, that was really refreshing, because you never hear anybody say that. When Bernie Sanders the other night said that, he was asked about, birthday abortions, and he just didn't deal with it at all, and everybody lets him get away with it. I mean, I'm thinking, this is macabre. This is like a horror movie or something.
Yeah, he's just talking about, for those of you that couldn't hear, about people just dismissing it. Not really, if it's brought up, whatever. And then talking about Senator Ben Sass actually addressing it, which was great. But yeah, we do that a lot in the culture now. We just ignore what we don't want to think about so we can do what we want to, and I hope that changes. And thankfully there are some people who stayed here tonight to actually listen and think about what we're doing and to support these precious people too, who are sticking their necks out every day on this campus. And I think it's fabulous. I think that's all I'm asking for is, can we just say things as they are? You can hear a heartbeat at 16 days in the womb. What does that mean? And we're not being honest, and I think it's terrible. But again, I hope that changes. Tonight is a start anyway. Yeah.
Did you ever meet people that listened to your testimony and afterwards contacted you and told you that you really changed their perspective?
Yes, have I spoken with people who've heard me speak and changed their mind, or it impacted them somehow? Yes, actually, there have been those that have come up and said they kept their child. And that's a real gift. It makes it all worth it.
And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your testimony. And thank you for keeping fighting for the truth. And thank you for honoring the Lord. Thank you for being here and making the efforts to do what you are doing. I think that's very commendable, admirable, and I hope you know how much we appreciate you being here.
So sweet. It's really sweet of you to say. Well, where are you from, if I'm going to ask?
Originally from Switzerland.
Ah, okay. I couldn't quite get it. It's familiar, but not sure. How long have you been here?
Over 20 years.
Ah. Cool. Yeah. And the whole world was horrified when they saw New York. Absolutely. But actually, I think that's really backfiring. What they thought they were going to get out of that, I think, is waking up a nation. And yeah, so I know that there needs to be an end point, so I'll let you decide when that needs to be. But I'm able to do more questions, but I'm also letting you decide what you want to do, people. You want to wrap it up, or you want to? Oh, yeah.
So there was someone earlier who asked, how do you hear someone out? And your response was, this is someone who wants an abortion, and your response was to figure out what their motivation is for it. So how do you respond to a woman who wants to get an abortion because she was raped, and she doesn't want to? So how can you hold her responsible for that, even though like if it's trauma, it will be like trauma.
Well, I don't hold her responsible for the life. I mean, I'm not holding her responsible for her trauma. That is an interesting argument about what regarding abortion is the difficult cases, which I believe are 3% of all abortions. Yeah, so 97% of abortions are performed for convenience of some kind, and 3% are performed due to the life of the mother, the rape and incest. So obviously it is a trauma. However, the baby is still a baby regardless of how the baby got there. And I actually have met people who are the result of that, who are very happy that they were not murdered. So it is a trauma indeed, but I would not want to inflict another trauma on the woman by ending the life. And I think this is where we walk with the woman, obviously, all the way through the whole process of everything. But we also have to acknowledge that we live in a world where evil exists and difficult things happen, and it doesn't justify the taking of life. It compounds the trauma, actually. So I think a lot of times we're trying to just ignore the fact that there is evil in the world and try to deal with it in our own ways. And I think a lot of those ways are more injurious in the end than good or comforting or right. So that is what I would say. Yeah.
How do you respond to another common objection of doing like back alley abortions and things like that?
Have you heard of Kermit Gosnell? So his question was, how do I respond to another common objection, which is, if we don't have abortion, we're going to have back alley abortions. Okay, well, I just saw the movie Gosnell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Anybody
sure.
seen it in here?
Yeah.
Whoa. That dude. You think that place was clean? So these clinics are not heavily monitored or regulated. I mean, they're selling baby parts, for heaven's sakes. So he had a woman die at his clinic with her daughter in the waiting room. So abortion often takes the life of the baby and can often or also take the life of the mother. We just don't hear about it as much. And they've been very clever about those slogans or talking points to keep it all just as it ought to be in their minds. But I would also say there's a million crisis pregnancy centers, there's the mobile buses, there's a million of us who are willing to help all these women in crisis and their children and do all this stuff. I mean, I met this pastor in Nashville, I live in Nashville, the other night. This one dude just goes and stands outside the clinic and he's like, "Hi, I'm here. I'll help you. What can I do? What do you need? Are you homeless? Do you need food? What do you need? I'm one man, but I can help you." He has saved 170 children. Just because he goes and pays their rent. He's transforming an apartment complex known as Hell's Hill because he just invaded it with light. And so you always hear people say, these Christians, I don't care, they just want abortion outlawed and they're just going to leave the women. I don't know one Christian who would behave that way. I know people who are running to the aid of all of these people. So that's a big fat bunch of crap. I'm not into murdering children over arguments that are not true or ever. I'm not into murdering them ever. But, you know, I mean, we just are not thinking about these things that we've grown up hearing all the time. You know, a woman's right to choose, a woman's right to choose. What does that mean? Except for the case of rape and incest. I mean, I can choose whether or not to hop into bed or not. I can make that choice too. We all know how babies are made. We might want to think about it before we just go on Tinder and give everyone our STDs. Pretty much it. Yeah.
Hi, Gianna. I wanted to add a little more to what was said earlier about the rape and incest thing. If anybody wants more information on that, I've met Rebecca Kiesling, who is the one who founded Save the One, and she is one of the people that that Gianna was talking about that is a result of a rape. And she formed an international organization that deals with helping women who were raped, and the ones who have already chosen abortion go through a healing process like I did after my abortion at 16, and the ones who have been rescued from that beforehand also go through counseling, and whether they're going to keep the baby or whether they're going to place the baby for adoption. And there's healing either way, because any of the options have some pain with it. But those of us who are post-abortive, who have talked together, at my first March for Life, I met a girl from Mississippi who had this long Mississippi drawl, and she told me that she had an abortion because she was raped, and the counseling she received to get over the rape was fairly short, but that led to a much longer healing period trying to get over the trauma from the abortion, because the rape she didn't have control over, the abortion she did.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay. Cool. You guys, thank you, and also thank you for these thoughtful questions, and I'm just really excited for you people.